So you're using Wix and the Wix stores, and you want to recommend products to your customers in strategic places like upselling in the cart and product pages. And you want to do it in a smart way, and you want to do it in your way with your own custom design that the pre-provided Wix widgets don't really manage to do. Welcome back to the Wix Wiz. I'm Eitan, and today we're going to be exploring how to build your own custom recommendations experience using the provided APIs with Wix and the same algorithms that essentially drive its pre-designed widgets. We're going to be exploring the various APIs, and I'll be leaving you off right before the design stage, which we'll discuss next time. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the future videos in the series. With that, let's get started. Today we're going to be picking up where we left off in the previous tutorial where we discussed no-code options for upselling people from the cart. And we're going to see how we can overcome some of the limitations that we saw by building our own custom recommendation system from scratch, both from an API perspective and from a design perspective. For this tutorial, we are going to be using this recommendations in API inside of the Wix SDK. It's also available inside of the Velo APIs, but I'm already starting to shift in the tutorials towards the SDK unless we hit any kind of blockers. So we're going to be using the SDK today. And I also have the Wix site that I set up. We're in Wix Classic, but again, everything should be possible inside of Wix Studio as well. All we have here is Wix stores installed. So let's hop in and explore what this recommendations API can do for us. The API is built out in two parts, essentially. So we have here the list available algorithms, and we have the get recommendations. And they're supposed to work in the order of first listing the available algorithms, which will give us a list of the available algorithms, which can be something like, products in the same category or products that are often sold together or viewed together, bought together, stuff like that. So there are a few pre-made algorithms by Wix. And also, it is possible to set up your own algorithms using the SPI. We're not going to talk about that in this tutorial specifically, but feel free to leave a comment below if you want to learn more about that. After we get that list of available algorithms, we then will pass that into the get recommendations method along with some other options, and out is supposed to pop the recommendations for the products or services that are recommended based on the algorithm. So that's kind of the stages that we're going to go through. But let's start off with exploring the list available algorithms method over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the code snippet that we have over here provided by Wix. And I'm going to head back into the editor and start by turning on dev mode, which is up here. And if you're inside of Wix Studio, then that is going to be kind of like on the bottom left. And once we have dev mode open, then we're going to head straight over here into the backend. And I'm going to create a new web module. And I'm just going to call this recommendations. Just like that. Okay, and you can see here that we get some boilerplate code. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of what we have up here. Just go ahead and get rid of all that. And I'm going to paste in the code that we copied from Wix, so just like that. And now let's just do a little bit of cleanup here. So I'm going to grab this code, this function over here, and I'm going to put it under our main web method. And I'm going to change up the web method so that instead of doing this boilerplate multiplication here, what we're going to do is we're actually going to just return this function. So let's say get algorithms, like that, algorithms, and permissions anyone, that's fine. We're not going to take in any parameters at the moment. And I'm just going to return this list available algorithms, just like that. And then here inside of list available algorithms, I'm also going to return the response, just so we can see it. So that should be enough just to test this out and see what happens. So I'm going to go over here to this blue button, this blue play button here. I'm going to click play so that we can test. And I'm going to go ahead and hit run. And then here inside of the kind of the test results, we can see that we got back these available algorithms, which is an array. And there are 4 algorithms here that were returned. So you can see that each algorithm has a few things. So one is a config, which is just information about the algorithm. So the name of this algorithm is from the same categories. And this is essentially to find products that are in the same category as other products. Okay, so that's what this algorithm does. And it's of type related items. It has an ID and a description, info, and stuff like that. So just some basic information about the algorithm. After that, we have an app ID, which, if I'm not mistaken, that is the app which this algorithm applies to. So every app, also within the Wix ecosystem, and also custom apps that you'll create, has an ID. So Wix Stores has its own ID, Wix Bookings has its own ID, etc. So this app ID will tell you which application it applies to, and you can't really understand anything just from looking at it like that. But if we go here to the documentation, we can see here that we have a list of the different app IDs. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and open that up in a new tab. And we can't find that page. Oops, blooper. But let's see. I do remember seeing it somewhere around here. Let's see if I can find that again. Config, app ID. Let's see. Maybe this is a different list. No. Let's see if I could find it. Wix app IDs. I guess they need to do some cleanup here. Anyway, I'll find it later to show you. But there's a list of the different IDs, and you can kind of match up and see which ID belongs to what. And if I'm not mistaken, this is probably going to be the Wix Stores ID. And then catalog app IDs. These are essentially the catalog app ID. Let me double check what that means so I don't mislead you. Catalog app ID, app IDs of the catalogs to which the algorithm can be applied. That's interesting because with Wix Stores, I would think yeah, it's the same. Okay. I was thinking like with Wix Stores, the catalog and the app are essentially the same thing, and that indeed seems to be the case. So you can see here that the app ID and catalog IDs here are the same, okay, because they're both essentially Wix Stores, but there could technically be a scenario where the catalog ID is not the same as the app ID. You might have an app with several different catalogs, etc. So essentially it's within this app, which catalogs does this algorithm apply to? And if we take a look here at the other ones, then they all seem to be here pertaining to Wix Stores. Again, with the assumption that this ID is belonging to Wix Stores. And if we take a look at some of the configs, we can see frequently viewed together. We can see here bestsellers, etc. So these are essentially the same algorithms that you would have had if you were using the no code option. And it's most likely what Wix is also using behind the scenes to power those widgets. So that's what we have over here in terms of get algorithms. So now that we've successfully used get algorithms, let's hop in and see how we can now use these algorithms to get product recommendations. Before we hop into the recommendations part, so I just want to show you here, I found the list. I did some Googling. And here you can see a list of all the apps created by Wix and their individual app ID. And you can see here indeed that the app ID that we've been seeing inside of the algorithms list is indeed Wix Stores, as I thought. So this is what we were trying to link to before, but there's like a broken link there. So that's this over here. You can find it at devs.wix.com//apps created by Wix, or just search Google and find it. So that's that. And now we can hop in and actually see some of how to implement the get recommendation. So in order to do that, it uses the same import. So we don't really need to import anything new. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually copy this function as is from the documentation. And I'm going to head here into the editor. And I'm going to paste this function right underneath. And we see here that we need to pass two things into this function. This is algorithms and options. So algorithms would essentially, I'm assuming, be an array of algorithms that we got back from list available algorithms, but we'll double check that in a moment. And let's also see what those options are. So I'm going to go over here to get recommendations. And over here, we can see that this is indeed an array of algorithms, a list of algorithms checked in a specific order determined by their app ID and their position in the algorithms array. So here we have an array, and it needs app ID, under ID, and app ID like that. Okay, so what we need, so it could be we're going to need to do a little bit of array mapping here, because it seems like we're not just supposed to take that array of algorithms that we got back and plop it right back in here, but we actually have to kind of curate it a little bit, which actually makes sense considering the fact that you might not want to take the list of algorithms as is and implement it. You might want to pick and choose. So you might want to choose one or two of the algorithms. You might want to change the order of the algorithms, because the order of the algorithms also determines like the preference. So which items to find? Should we first find bestsellers and then only if we have room find some from the same category, or the other way around? So which algorithms and the order that we pass them in here matters. And in terms of other options that we see here, so here we need to pass in the items. So a set of items for which to get recommendations, which makes a lot of sense because all of the algorithms depend already on what we've already put in our cart or which product page we're on, or it requires some information to get started, to get the algorithm started. So that's what we have over here. So that's what we're going to need to pass in here. And minimum recommended items. So let's say if we pass in 10, then it'll go through the algorithms until it gets 10 items. Based on the language here, I'm assuming that's the minimum and not the maximum. I don't know if there's a way to do a maximum, but since we have control over the code, we could always kind of cut it off at some point. So that's what we need to do here. So let's start figuring this out. First, let's start by curating our list of algorithms that came back into an array of IDs and app IDs so that we can pass it into our other web method. So what I'm going to do over here is head back into the editor, and we're going to use our list available algorithms function that we already built, and we're going to use it here inside of this web method. So instead of passing in algorithm and options over here, I'm going to get rid of those parameters, and I'm just going to put them over here inside of the same web method. So I'm going to say here const, and if you recall, these algorithms came back inside of an object. So here there was available algorithms. I'm just going to copy that, which I hope I can. And we'll say here const available algorithms equals to await list available algorithms. Okay, just like that. And that should just be the array. Okay, the available algorithms should just be the array. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to want to map that into the array of algorithms that we want to use. So const, let's call this, oops, let me zoom in so you can actually see what I'm doing here. Const, let's call it algos to use. And this will be our available algorithms dot map. And for each algo, what we'll do is we're going to return an object, which is going to have an ID, underscore ID, and it's going to have an app ID. Okay, so the ID we want is the ID of that specific algorithm. So if we take a look here at what it returned here in the available algorithms, then within the config, we have the algorithm ID. So it's going to be, we're going to want to get the algorithm dot config dot algorithm ID. So let's do that right over here. So this is going to be algo.config.algorithm ID. I'm sure I'm going to make some typos here, but let's hope for the best. And here, this is going to be the algo. And I think app ID we had just directly within the top level of the algorithm. But let me just go ahead here and double check. So here, yeah, we have the app ID here at top level. So those are the two things that we need. And then these algorithms to use, these are the algorithms that we're going to want to pass over here into algorithms. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just copy that. And I'm going to put that right over there as the algos to use. The next thing that we're going to want to have here is options. But since in the documentation the options weren't marked as required, what I want to do is first try and run this without the options and see if we get anything back, and if we do, what is that thing that we get back. So I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to hit that play button right over there, and I'm going to hit run. And here we go. So we got back. Why did we get back? Whoops, I'm in the wrong. I was in the wrong one. This is the get recommendations here, and what we got back here is recommendation, and here it includes items. So essentially what it did is it gave me all the products. We only have 7 products here in our store, so this is all the products. And the algorithm it used this algorithm, which we can go check and see which algorithm that is. I'm guessing it's the first one in the list. And it gave me here, so here we have the catalog item ID, which is essentially equivalent to product ID inside of Wix stores. And we have the app ID, which is Wix stores. Okay, and then what we'd have to do is, based on this catalog item ID, we'd have to go and fetch the data about that specific product. So let's go over here and see which algorithm it decided to use. So it starts with 68E. Let's go ahead and see which algorithm that is. I might need to run the list available algorithms again. Let's see. Let's see if it's the first one. Config algorithm ID. Yeah, so it just used the first one from the same category. So I'm not sure how it can recommend from the same category if we don't have any items that we told it to base it off of. Maybe it just kind of, yeah, just if there's not enough products with bad data that share the same category, we'll display all products category instead. Okay, so that's probably what they did. There's like one category that's all products, so they probably just took the all products and put it there. But let's see here. Let's see. Frequently bought together. So there's always like a kind of a fallback about what happens if there's not enough. If not enough data, then we'll do something. So essentially, that not enough data means you didn't actually tell us which products to base the algorithm off of. So the next step will really be to get the product information in order to pass that into the options, and then see how the algorithms behave based on that information. In a real life scenario, the information about the items that we'd want to best base the recommendations off of would come from our front end. So depending on maybe items from the cart or items from a page or something like that. So we'd programmatically get information about those products, pass it to the back end, get our recommendations. For now, what I want to do is just do kind of like a dry run with some hard-coded data, just to test out how this all works and gain an understanding. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some information about some products, or at least one product, to add into the options here. So let's start constructing the options object inside of the editor. So what I'm going to do here is, after our definition of the algorithms, I'll say here const options equals to, and I'll open that up, and here I'm going to have the items. And this is again going to be an array. And inside of these items, what we need to do is we need to have our app ID, and we need to have catalog item ID. There are additional options here, but that's not required. So I'm going to leave that out for now. So the app ID is just going to be the Wix store ID. So let me just copy that from right over here. And I'm going to go to the editor, and I'm going to declare this as a global variable right over here. So let's say const Wix stores ID, and I'm just going to put that right over there. And then here, inside of the items for our options, what we're going to do is we're going to have the app ID, which is going to be the Wix stores ID. And then what we're going to need here for the catalog ID, for some reason that's throwing, oh, sorry, this needs to be in an object. Duh, sorry, my bad. So app ID, and then what we're also going to have here is the catalog. I wish there was autocomplete here. Catalog item ID, I think it is. Okay, just like that. And that's going to be an ID of one of our products. So let's just go here to the database quickly, go here to stores, and I'm going to go into products, and I'm going to open up the products collection and just grab an ID of one of the products, pretty much at random. So let's say, let's do the athletic joggers here. That's the first item. Let's see if we have the ID exposed. So don't get confused with this numeric ID, because that's not the ID that we want. If you don't see the ID, then you can go to Manage Fields and then toggle on this System ID here, just like that. And that's the ID that we want for the product. So let's go ahead and look for that. There we go. So now we have the ID. So I'm just going to grab the ID for the athletic joggers. And I'm going to go ahead right over here. And I'm going to just put that up here on top as well as a global variable. So let's say here const athletic joggers ID. Just put that right over there. And I'm going to pass that over here as well into the catalog item ID. So athletic joggers ID. And that should really be enough in terms of the options. We do also have the minimum recommended items that we can pass in, which would, let's say we could pass 3, but I'm sure it would give me more than 3 anyways, because we have several algorithms that are being run there. But let's go ahead and try it out. So I'm going to put it over here, and the minimum, so that's items, and then here we would have the minimum recommended items, and let's just put in, let's say 3 there for now. And then I'm going to uncomment the options here. And let's try to run this again. So I'm going to get rid of the results that we have here on the side. And I'm going to hit run. And moment of truth, let's see. So we got back our recommendation. And we got back the items. And let's see what the first item is. So it's a little tough because we only have the IDs. So it's hard to know what the exact item is. But if this worked correctly, then this item is going to be from the bottoms category. So the joggers, like I think it's denim jeans. I think that's the other one there. So let's just do like a sanity test. I'm going to go here to products, and I'm going to search for this ID that I just copied. Let's go ahead and hit search here, and we can see it's number 5 here, which is the slim fit jeans. Okay, that's what matched the search. You can see here, this is the ID that matched the search, and it's the slim fit jeans, so that recommendation worked. So first it gave us from the same category, because that's the first algorithm that we passed in, and then it went to all the other algorithms, which is, best seller or whatnot. Once we get back that list of catalog item IDs, we're going to actually need to get the data about those individual products. And since in this scenario, what we've been exploring is how to use the built-in recommendations that are built for Wix stores. So we're going to need to use the Wix stores APIs to get the product information. If you happen to be using your own app or a different app with different recommendations, then you'll have to refer to that application or your application for how to actually retrieve the data about the items once you have the catalog item IDs. So we could technically use this get product API here to get the information. This just takes a product ID, so that would be pretty simple. But I think it would make more sense to actually query products because from the recommendations, we get back several catalog item IDs, and it's not so efficient to use them one at a time in order to get product, get product, get product again and again. So instead, what we could do is we could query products and pass in, what we should be able to do is query the products and pass in the IDs as an array, and just use the has some kind of selector, that has some filter inside of the query. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this boilerplate code here from the documentation. I'm going to head back into the editor, and I'm going to put this right up here on top. And since this package has not yet been installed, I'm just going to go ahead and install it now. And what I'm going to do is then grab this query products, and I'm going to put it here on the bottom. I'm going to put it here on the bottom. And then here we're going to need to kind of touch up the filter a little bit. So what we'll pass in here as a parameter is the catalog item IDs as an array. And then what we'll do here is that before we run find, we'll do dot has some, and then we'll say that the ID of the product matches one of the catalog IDs that we passed in here to this query products. And then what we'll do here is we'll return the items. Oops, you can see here what I'm doing. Return the items, just like that. And then here, so after we get back our result here from the recommendations, instead of returning the result, what we can do is we can say const products equals to query products. And we're going to want to pass in the catalog item IDs, but we're going to need to kind of retrieve those from the recommendations algorithm. So first we get back here recommendation, and then within that we have items, which is an array with the catalog item ID. So we're going to need to do some mapping around here. So let's go over here, and what we'll say here is we'll say const. So here, instead of having result, let's have recommendations. Recommendations like that. No. Let's see. Returns. That's a little annoying that it returns. Oh, recommendation without the S. Okay, recommendation. So let's go over here. So the recommendation will be what comes back. And then here what we'll do is we'll say const items equals recommendation. And then we'll say const catalog item IDs equals to items.map. And then we'll say that for each item, we'll just return the item.catalog item ID. Okay, and then here when we query the products, we can put in our catalog item IDs. And let's not forget to await this because it's going to be asynchronous. And then at the end, let's go ahead and return the products. So now, if this all works correctly with this adjustment, then when we run getRecommendation, instead of just giving us a list of IDs for catalog items, we'll actually get data about the products. So let's go over here and test this out. So I'm going to go ahead here and hit run. And let's see. Okay, so it came back here with the array, and you can see here now that this is essentially the data of the items, of the products themselves. Okay, so we have all the product data over here, and this is essentially something that you could already use in the front end in order to display information about the products to the user, etc. And that's really what we're going to touch on next time. So with that, we're going to wrap up for this stage of the series. What we learned is how to use the various APIs with regard to getting recommendations using the Wix recommendations algorithms, the same ones that essentially power the Wix widgets behind the scenes. And using that new power and data, we'll be able to create our own UIs that can better recommend and upsell products to our users. And that's what we're going to be exploring next time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.